Hello, good evening, our dearest viewers in a new episode of MBC Journal. This is Lana Bouda again with you, and for tonight's show, we're talking about President Mahmoud Abbas' visit to New York City to reject the deal of the century. We're talking about a girl, her name is Noor Ataya. She's sending the emotions from Acre in 1948 areas to her grandmother in Syria refugee camps. And we're having a great guest for tonight's show. Let's see the briefing news first, and we'll be back.
Thank you, Lana. President Mahmoud Abbas discussed in a telephone call with German Chancellor Angela Merkel the Palestinian rejection of the U.S. peace deal, the opposition of the League of the Arab States, the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, and the African Union of this plan. The President gave a detailed explanation of the alternative initiative that was put before the Security Council and that is approved by the majority of the countries of the world, which is to hold an international peace conference and establish an international multilateral mechanism. Prime Minister Mohammed Shtayyeh today called on Germany and Europe in general to exert efforts to come out with a clear vision on terms of references for the peace process based on multilateral mechanism, particularly the resolutions and standards internationally endorsed. The Premier praised the European stance, which is consistent with the positions of various parties around the world regarding the American so-called deal of the century, especially the position of the Arab Foreign Minister and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation and the African Union. Israel occupation forces raided 50 dunams of Palestinian land in the villages of Iskaka and Yusuf to the east of occupied north and west bank city of Silfit, according to a local source. Khalid Abiya, head of the Yusuf village council, said that land was raised in order to expand the illegal Israeli settlements of Nofi and Nahimya, built in the eastern part of Iskaka and southern part of Yusuf. Israel occupation forces detained 4 Palestinians from several areas of the occupied West Bank and 3 others in the occupied Jerusalem, according to Palestinian Prisoner Society. Israel occupation forces rounded up to 2 Palestinians, including a former prisoner from the central West Bank district of Ramallah and El Bire. The unemployment rate in Palestine among labor force participants of 15 years and above stood at 24% at the end of the fourth quarter 2019, said the Palestinian Central Bureau of Statistics in its labor force survey issued yesterday. These are news today. Thank you for watching.
Hello again. So President Mahmoud Abbas went to New York City just to reject the deal of the century, to stand with the Palestinians and to show the world that this deal of the century is against peace and against human rights and the human law. So, and he said that this deal of the century is the slab of the century. Let's see this video graph together and we'll be back. As we were talking about the deal of the century, as it is a peaceful plan for Palestinians and it's nothing to do with peace, we're continuing to talk about the story of Noor Ataya, who came to Palestine from Sweden, holding the Sweden passport just to show her grandmother about the old house in Akka in the 1948 lands, with the details that her grandmother told her about the palm tree. And to the left of the palm tree there is a mosque, and to the right of the palm tree there's the graveyard. She looked for these details and she recognized them. And then let's see this video for Noor. It's very emotional. She was talking to her grandma in Syria refugee camps. Let's see it together and we'll be back.
أنا قدام النخلة اللي قلتي لي عنها. أنا واقفة قدامها يا ستي. واقفة عندها يا ستي. احكي لها أنا واقفة عند النخلة اللي حكت لي عليها. يا ستي. يا ستي واقفة عندها واقفة عندها يا ستي. شو أعمل؟
Moving from Palestinian reality to the Syrian reality, and with Wa'ad al-Khatib, we dare to dream, we don't regret for our identity. Her dress was sending the message in Oscar, talking about for Sama movie or documentary. She was telling about the story of Halab people or Aleppo people during the war of Syria. Let's see this video together and we'll be back.
Thank you so much. First, thank you for and congratulations for all the other nominees, which after now almost 1 year of releasing the film, we became also friends. I don't know. Sorry, again. The film was, we should have been here in one moment. In 2016, 3 years ago, we were in Aleppo. We were in a basement of a field hospital. Hamza, me, and Sama, and Afra. And we heard, and we were hearing the shelling and the bomb all the time around us. At one moment in 2016, when I was in contact with Channel 4 News, we even thought where we should bury our footage, because in case we didn't make it, this needs to be saved. We did the film, and I'm so glad and I'm so honored I'm standing here. Thank you so much for BAFTA for recognizing the film in so many other categories. And as we're speaking now, the situation in Syria is still so bad. As we're speaking, there's a bombing and shelling on over 3.5 million civilians. These people there in Idlib, they should hear your voice now. They should hear that Britain, as a country, as a great country, will not let that happen again. I know it's so hard, but this award, I will dedicate it for the great Syrian people who are still suffering until today, and the great heroes of doctors, nurses, civil defense, so many other people, volunteers from Mulham team to Violet, to so many other people. Please, I will dedicate this award for them. Let them hear your voice. Thank you so much.
Such an emotional and very interesting video or documentary for this Syrian filmmaker. Moving on to talk about Palestine. And as it's here in winter, we're having special food and special sweets to eat in our culture. I went to An-Najah National University. I asked students about their favorite meals and their favorite sweets to eat in winter. Let's see this report together and we'll be back. Hello VC people, I'm here with you from a new campus at An-Najah National University. Today, as you see, it's a bit cold and it's winter here. So I'm trying to ask people about their food in winter. As Palestinians, we have our own kind of food and the sweets. So keep watching, we will see the students, what do they think about winter food, and we'll be back.
Nablus here. I'm living in an apartment, and the easiest thing to do in my apartment is to make lentils. I like eating lentils. Also in Nablus here, because it's the origin place of kinafa, I really like eating it. You should try it all.
Actually, I would like to eat everything in winter, but the problem like getting fat. But I think the best thing to me is kunafa in winter.
In winter season, actually, I like to drink hot chocolate sometimes, crepe, waffle, soups. Hot soups is really great in winter. We like to keep us warm.
I love to eat in winter waffle and crepe, and I'm going now to eat waffle.
As you see, I can't live without my hot drinks and especially coffee in winter. And I saw so many students here holding their cups of coffees around the university. I hope you enjoyed this episode with me and see you later. Hello again. As we're talking today about Palestinian refugee camps in Syria and around the world, we're having a special guest for tonight's show. She's from PUI organization. It's a non-profit organization, non-political and non-religious, just to help people around the world. Let's welcome Ola Qadri. Hello and welcome here, Ola.
Hi, how are you?
We're very honored to have you here with us and with this special project you have.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
So could you tell us more about what is PUI? What does it stand for?
PUI, as you said before, is a non-profit, non-religious, non-political, and non-governmental international NGO who's trying to help civilians who are marginalized, excluded due to the natural crisis or war or any economic collapse. We are trying to. Our main mission is to try to defend the basic human rights that are declared in the Universal Human Rights Declaration in 1948.
Okay, good. So what your aim here in Palestine is in the marginalized areas with the marginalized people. Could you tell us more about your aim here in Palestine?
Our main mission, as I have said before, is to try to defend the basic human rights. And what we're trying to do is trying to provide a global quick response for those civilians and populations who are affected by a humanitarian crisis. And they are trying we help them to try to regain their dignity. I would like to say in 2017, our activities have carried out in more than 21 countries around the world. These countries are suffering from several types of crisis.
Of course, yes.
And our activities have involved more than 3,000 local and native employees, beside 180, something like that, almost 180 foreign workers with 75 head office employees.
Wow. So you're working in different countries and cities in the world.
Yeah.
So could you tell us about these cities, rather away from Palestine?
I would like not to go further because every country has its own specific. It could be an economic collapse. It could be a natural disaster. Anywhere that has any kind of a crisis, PUI would exist there. PUI is a short for Première Urgence International, which means a quick response and emergency response. So anywhere where you can find a real crisis that is affecting a human, PUI will be there to support these people.
So I would love to ask about the funding for this organization. Of course, it's like a real hard work for this organization because you're dealing, and maybe you need a lot of funding for food, maybe for healthcare. I'm not sure about the things that you provide. So
I will explain a little bit later, but our funding mainly comes from ECHO, and also we have been funded with a few projects, especially in Palestine. It's funded by ECHO, and some projects were funded by OCHA. In order to be able to continue on all of our projects to try to support a little bit the Palestinians who are under a lot of conflict.
Okay, good. So do you think that the voice of this organization are heard in the world now? Because, like everything in Palestine here is against the international human law for Palestinians, I mean.
Of course.
So, do you think that your voice, the organization voice, can be heard in the world?
I think it is, but what matters, it is through our advocacy activities that we're trying to show the world through many occasions, reporting that has been done on the IHL and HRL violations in Palestine. So we're trying, but the most important, what kind of services can we bring to the Palestinians themselves on the ground who are suffering from this prolonged context?
So to specify the things here in Palestine, what is your main work here in Palestine? What are the cities maybe you work in? Could you tell us? Yes.
In PUI, we have been with PUI. We have been in the West Bank since 2002, and in Gaza since 2009. And being in Gaza had a lot of work to be done there due to the high number of populations affected by this prolonged context and security issues. So what we're trying to do is trying to maintain and improve the food security in Gaza and the livelihood means, especially for the most vulnerable population who are very much affected of the continuous and worrisome security context. In the West Bank, our main objective is to try and provide the humanitarian support for all the Palestinians around the whole West Bank suffering by again this prolonged context, as well as trying to do a lot of advocacy activities, a lot of emergency responses, and all different kind of activities.
Could I ask about the challenges you may face in Palestine, maybe in the West Bank or in Gaza Strip? So could you tell us about these challenges?
Of course, there are many challenges happens in the field. We're living in an occupied territory, which means we face a lot of obstacles reaching some locations due to a checkpoint, the wall checkpoints, any kind of borders, flying checkpoints, some certain rates on a community that we are there facing. So we have a lot of, as Palestinians in general, not only humanitarian workers, usually going from one community to the other makes you face a lot of obstacles, which happens also to us.
Hey, thank you so much for being here with us.
And
I wish you the best of luck with this great job you're doing. And thank you, our dearest viewers, for watching us. See you next Tuesday at 7:30 p.m.